Hey there and welcome back to Mass Effect 2. My name is Pete and today we complete another episode of our Insanity walkthrough on board of the MSV Strontium Mule. In the last episode we began a small quest chain involving the Blue Suns mercenaries as we investigated an archeological dig site and we discovered that the Blue Suns had promised help to the research team that was stationed there, but instead the mercenaries swooped in and took over the mine for themselves. We also discovered part of the reason why they did so, as deep within the dig site we stumbled upon a Prothean artifact. Interacting with it triggered another vision in Shepard's mind, but apart from that it did not reveal anything further about the Protheans, the Reapers or the Collectors. Still, we were also able to find a Blue Suns datapad lying around, in which Blue Suns Lieutenant Locke was ordered to rendezvous on board of the MSV Strontium Mule. Now, Locke was unfortunately killed by yours truly in a firefight, still the ship remains of interest, also because Cerberus Command later revealed to us that it might be carrying valuable cargo, including intel of a sensitive nature. And with no idea what that might possibly be, let's find out. Before we punch in the coordinates though, let's have another quick chat with Kelly Chambers.
I bumped into Zaid recently. Quite the character. Given how much violence and destruction that man's seen, he's surprisingly well adjusted. Still, I wouldn't want to be alone with them. Anyway, what's up?
That'll be all.
Good luck out there, Shepard.
Alright, if I'm not mistaken, that was actually the last of these one-liners regarding the crew that she has, so our regular conversations with her will take a bit of a break at this point, so we can focus purely on the mission at hand. And after refueling the Normandy, we will therefore now plot our mass relay jump, which will take us back to the Omega Nebula. Now, in this nebula we have explored pretty much everything there is, that is, apart from the Arin Larkin system, which is, unsurprisingly, where today's mission will take place. Upon entering the system, we immediately see the Strontium Mule, but before we board, let us quickly explore the one and only planet in the system, which would be the water and radiation-covered planet Uther. In terms of mining, this one might be worth a stop if you're looking for platinum. Apart from that, however, not much else is particularly interesting about this planet. So, with half of what's in the system already scouted, let's look at the other half, and I am of course talking about the derelict MSV Strontium Mule. The description here shows it to be damaged by weapons fire, which might indicate that the ship was not always in the hands of the Blue Suns. In any case, let us board and see what we find. Since we're fighting numerous weaker enemies with shields, we'll take some crowd control as well as some tech powers. More specifically, we're going with Samarra and Kasumi for this mission. We will once again skip spending squad points on Shepard and move straight to Kasumi, whose 4 points we'll use to max out and evolve Overload. For the ability evolution, we can now choose between Heavy and Area Overload, and the pattern here should be familiar by now. Heavy Overload increases the ability's damage output, while Area Overload increases the impact radius, allowing the ability to potentially affect multiple enemies. And in my opinion, Area Overload is the better choice in most cases. The damage increase of Heavy Overload is not that significant. As a matter of fact, Area Overload should still comfortably be able to strip away the shields of most weaker enemies. So that is what we're going with, and that brings us now to Samarra. For now, her abilities stay exactly as they are, our weapon loadout also doesn't change, and so we can now begin boarding the ship. Once again, our arrival does not go unnoticed, and so, just as we set foot on board of the ship, combat begins. A fairly large wave of Blue Suns is approaching through the door ahead of us, and keeping our distance and staying in cover is, as usual, a very good first step towards our survival. Now, there are a few ways to significantly shorten this mission, and this fight is one of them, and I will talk about them, but show you the proper way, as I feel that offers the most natural progression and avoids any potential glitches. In this fight right here, for example, it is possible to drastically reduce the number of enemies by making a beeline for the door as soon as the mission begins. And what seems counterintuitive at first actually works quite well, because you will arrive before the enemies have a chance to open the door, and thanks to what I assume is a minor glitch, they will actually never do so once you are too close. It is then up to you to open the door yourself, which will of course put you face to face with the Blue Suns. However, now there will only be 2 of them instead of the lovely dozen we're fighting off now. With Adrenaline Rush and a few abilities from your companions, you should be able to take them down before they kill you, and all in all, this fight should not last longer than 5, maybe 10 seconds. If you want to do it the proper way instead, however, then my only advice would be to focus on the heavies first. Everything else should come naturally. Once the fight is over, we want to collect all available ammunition and then have a look at the Merc Transmitter over here. This is a message from Captain Vorhess, who was also already mentioned in the previous mission, and who orders his team to assemble a welcoming unit for us, in all likelihood the mercenaries that we just took out. This, however, also tells us that there are more of them on board, so let's keep our eyes open.
What were these people doing here?
As we go up the stairs here, we can make a quick stop at the security console. However, it does not reveal anything that we don't already know. All airlocks have been sealed, probably as a way to keep away intruders.
Is there anyone else here?
Making our way up the next set of stairs, we want to get ready for combat. However, this time we're only facing a small group of 3 weak Blue Suns troopers, who at this point in the game do not offer much resistance. Ahead of us, we now have 3 doors, all of them locked, and another Merc Transmitter, so let's take a closer look. It is revealed here that there is in fact something pretty valuable on board. However, it also looks like whatever that is still locked, as Captain Vorhess is mentioned to be currently interrogating the ship's captain for the codes. So we are in fact once again dealing with a very criminal Blue Suns operation here. Let's see if we can't put an end to it. A good first step would be to get those doors open.
There's gotta be a way in.
We've done it.
Alright, all 3 doors have been unlocked and we are going through the one in the middle first. After running down a fairly long corridor, we are about to enter the ship's drive core, where a few more Blue Suns troops are hiding, unfortunately also in elevated positions. The key to this fight is to loop around to the access ramp here, as that is really the only place where you have a good line of fire. The mission can also once again be shortened in this area if you do not go in here until the very end of the mission. After a certain point in the mission has been reached, the enemies in this room will magically disappear and you can go in here without any resistance. That would require a lot of backtracking though, so we're not doing that. Instead, we're getting ourselves one more punch and shoot combo for the Brawler achievement, as we get the counter up to 13 and defeat the senior engineer, who is by far the toughest opponent in this room. On the upper level, we can then grab some heavy weapon ammo from the power cells, before we turn left and have a look at the engine room main console. Once again though, nothing too revealing here. We only learn that the ship's FTL drive is defunct, probably as a result of the Blue Suns attack. Continuing on, we can then get our hands on another Merc Transmitter on the other side of this balcony, and this one is a little bit more interesting. Not only do we learn that the mercenaries are in fact aware of who we are, but it is also revealed that a certain Sergeant Boortis might be about to go into business for himself, as he apparently plans to keep the cargo for himself and to remove Captain Vorhess from the picture. This internal struggle within the Blue Suns might of course make our life a little easier. At least it looks like the mercenaries are not really in the process of forming a well-oiled cohesive unit. Be that as it may, we have now cleared this room and can head back downstairs and into the area with the 3 doors. However, as both of those will ultimately lead to the same part of the ship, it does not really matter which one we take. Coming out of the corridor, I personally prefer to go right, which then brings us to another intersection. To the left we have some stairs, but instead we'll go right again. This gets us into a small workshop, and in here we can read through the maintenance records. Those reveal that the damaged FTL drive has been very poorly repaired and that it is now at a high risk of failing completely. At this point I would say that is not our problem, so let's head back out and then up the stairs. And this area right here is where you end up no matter which door you pick, and it will also always have 2 Blue Suns troopers in it. They are easily defeated though, and once they are down we can head into their direction. That brings us to another intersection. The door on the left here is very important, but locked for the moment, so all we can do is go right and prepare for combat. Waiting right behind the door there are 2 Blue Suns troopers here, and in close range and without any cover between us and them they can actually be quite dangerous, but the quick use of our abilities gives us the advantage and even allows us to obtain another punch and shoot combo. In the back of the room we can then find what looks to be a massacred group of people, and from the looks of it, it seems like they have been here for a while. In all likelihood, this right here was the former crew of the ship. The majority of the current crew, meanwhile, is still waiting for us. To the left here, by the way, that is where the other door would have brought us up.
I don't know who the hell you think you are, but step 1 foot on the bridge and you'll pray for a quick death.
Alright, we receive a fair warning from Captain Vorhess. Not that it will change our intentions of waltzing in there, but at least now we know who's waiting for us. The transmission relay console off on the side here, meanwhile, only tells us of another system that is inoperative.
There's gotta be a way in.
So let's head over to the other side for a much more useful one.
We've done it.
Hacking our way in, we can circumvent the lockdown on the bridge, and that, of course, opens the door for our next firefight. Before we enter, let's make sure to get Kasumi and Samarra in position, while we ourselves take cover on the other side of the door, and then, after the fight has broken out, we want to make sure to stay out here as long as we can. Now, inside of the room, we have a few Blue Suns troopers and then 2 other enemies who deserve our attention. One of them is Captain Vorhess, but he's actually not that powerful. Yes, he has strong shields, but no armor underneath that, so he is comparatively quickly defeated. The real threat, meanwhile, is the nameless command bodyguard. This special Turian operative has shields, armor, and a large health pool. He is also carrying a Claymore heavy shotgun, which makes him absolutely deadly in close range, and so, in all likelihood, he will be the last enemy standing in this room. If you stay in cover and don't let him get too close, that is actually also not too much of a problem. In my opinion, it even makes sense to take out the weaker enemies first. That way we can then focus all of our attention on the Turian without the worry of getting flanked. After a poorly executed attempt of getting another punch-and-shoot kill, we are then being ambushed. And this is the reason why we eventually moved into the room after the opposition had been thinned out a bit, otherwise we would now sit on a silver platter for the Fenris mechs that are rushing through the corridor towards us. If you're now wondering where they're coming from after our thorough search of the ship, then I'd like to point out that one locked door that we saw earlier, the one opposite the room where the former crew was killed. And from that room we now have even more reinforcements arrive, although with a sniper rifle and a quick trigger, we should be able to get rid of the 2 rocket troopers among them before they can get into cover. Now, in my opinion, the timing of this group is a little bit suspicious, as they arrive only after we have cleared out the bridge. It would make a lot of sense, of course, to attack us simultaneously, but combined with what we read about Sergeant Boortis earlier, this might indicate that they were in fact waiting for us to kill the mercenary captain, after which they plan to swoop in, eliminate us, and take all the valuable cargo for themselves. As you can see though, that plan is not exactly working as advertised, primarily because their ambush is simply taking forever, and we already have fantastic cover to snipe away enemy after enemy, including Sergeant Boortis himself.
Suns hostiles have been eliminated. It is likely that the requested cargo is located on the ship's upper deck.
Now, Edie informs us that the ship has been cleared, but the last time we read about the cargo it was still locked with a code. So, let's see if the Merc Transmitter here has any info on that. It reveals that Voorhis was unable to get the codes from the captain and that he ordered Boortis to arrive with backup as soon as we arrive. As we know by now, that did not happen, leading to the untimely demise of both men. The datapad also mentions that Voorhis found the codes in the ship's black box, which is actually the main log console. And the entry here was made by the ship's previous captain Barnes, who tells the story of being lured into a Blue Suns trap and of escaping with heavy damages. It looks like the mercenaries were able to track down the ship though, but not before the captain could leave both the codes for the cargo as well as the coordinates of the ambush site behind. For now, since we're already on board, the cargo is the more pressing issue, so let's focus on that first. It is, unsurprisingly, located in that one room that was locked until now, but before we go there, let's take a quick detour. Going down the stairs here, we can get into that one room that we have not yet been in, because to get there, we would have needed to take the other door in that room with 3 of them. There is admittedly not much of value to be found here, only a single medical station worth 100 credits, but this is a completionist playthrough, so we will grab that as well before heading back up. All that we have left to do now is to grab the cargo and whatever else we might find in that last room where Boortis and his crew were hiding, and the first thing we discover is actually another Merc Transmitter. This reveals what we suspected all along. Boortis specifically ordered his squad to wait until Voorhis was killed, after which they planned the ambush that we saw fail just a few moments ago. So, before we leave, let us quickly collect all valuables, including 2000 units of iridium and a very useful upgrade from the research docket over here.
This looks interesting.
Finally then, let's grab what we came for, the container marked as payload, worth almost 4000 credits. And here we are, mission complete, but to be honest, the grand prize, that oh so valuable cargo, was a bit underwhelming in my opinion. Still, we take away 125 experience points, the heavy skin weave upgrade that will provide Shepard with a nice 40% health bonus, as well as 7,500 credits and the 2000 units of iridium. Back on the Normandy, we can once again not make the cut just yet, as Cerberus has gotten wind of our discoveries once more.
Commander, you've received a new message at your private terminal.
I already mentioned it briefly in the captain's log. The captain also mentioned the coordinates of the ambush site, and that is in fact what Cerberus wants us to investigate next. Needless to say, shutting down the beacon that is currently transmitting false emergency signals that could save not only a few ships but potentially also lives, so we'll gladly take the mission. However, as you may have guessed already, that will happen in the next video, as we have reached a very good point to make the cut for today. So as always, I hope you enjoyed the episode, and if you did, then I would be happy if you could leave a thumbs up. Also, if you want to support me and my channel further, then feel free to subscribe or check out and maybe pledge to the Pete Complete Patreon. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.